So I'm very excited to be here. It's always such a pleasure for me to come and speak, and especially to talk about sales, because a lot of people don't like sales. A lot of people think that sales is conniving or it's something that's manipulative. And I find sales to be just amazing because I think of it as a discovery of a match. It's a chance for you to connect with someone and change their life. I want you to say that with me. I get to change their life. Let me hear you say it. I get to change their life. Because if you imagine that every time you have a conversation with someone, and if they buy and when they buy from you, you actually get to change their life, doesn't that change things a little bit? Like, aren't you more excited to have that conversation? Aren't you more excited to get there and close the deal? Not because you want more money, not because you want to just like get another client, but because you have the opportunity to change their life. Like these ladies over here that we've talked about, I know some of you were here for Trevor's talk in the morning. I get so excited to see them here because I had an opportunity to change their life, and guess what? Their lives, and guess what? They didn't even pay me for it, but they changed mine. They didn't even charge me for it, I should say, but they changed mine. How do I do this? Like that? Oh, I did it. Cool. So, with that in mind, this is how to increase your income with a proven sales system, even if you don't like to sell or ask for money. How many of you don't really like to sell? Okay, good. A couple of you guys. Awesome. How many of you love to sell? Getting close. Okay. Some of you, yes. Some of my students, my femmes, my female-empowered money makers, they love to sell because they realize it's all about changing lives. So I'm Robyn Crane. You can see here that I'm very, very happy. It's because when I get to help someone, when I get to work with women entrepreneurs, that I just love to see the transformation, and it just fills me up. And whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is that you do, I want that to be an experience that you have as well, where really you get filled up when you work with people and even fulfilling on those promises. So, if I look at this, I don't have to keep looking back here. So what you will learn today will help you make more money and save time. How many of you would like to make more money? Say yes. Okay, great. How many of you would love to save more time? Say, oh yeah. Okay, good. Wave to someone across the room and say, I'm going to save time. All right, and do it on the other, someone else across the room and say, I'm going to make more money. Awesome. I'm going to have fun with you guys today because I know there's a lot of information you're getting, and I want to make sure you don't just hear another talk, but you really use this and implement this so it does not just change other people's lives, but it changes yours as well. How does that sound? Great. Okay, so to give you a little bit of background about me and where I was, this is not me, but represents me and the pain that I experienced. No, but for real, I actually used to be a singer-songwriter. So I was a struggling musician, not making much money. And I actually became a financial advisor. Does anyone know the singer-songwriter, financial advisor, typical path, right? You go to school, you get your degree, you become a singer-songwriter, you're a waitress at Buca di Beppo. Yeah, they have family-style food. It's very delicious if you like Italian. And then you become a bartender, and then, as a singer-songwriter, and then a financial advisor. It's like everybody's typical path. Well, that was my path, and it ended up kind of in an awkward direction, but I was barely getting by. I didn't have anything really leading me up to having a ton of money to become a financial advisor. And then the funniest thing was that when I became a financial advisor, I actually started to go into debt. As a singer-songwriter, I was doing okay. I was living on people's couches. I got by. But then I became a financial advisor. I had to stop living on people's couches. I actually had to drive a car that didn't have a bunch of dents in it. I started to go further and further in debt. And I was at a point not too long ago where I was $47,812, honey, $12 in debt. I tracked my money, so I knew how much I was going into debt. And it was very, very scary. And what was worse was that I felt so incongruent. Because here I was, financial advisor. Let me advise you on your finances. And lo and behold, they didn't know, but you could probably tell that I didn't have any. I didn't feel congruent, I felt like a fraud. So how do you go from feeling like total fraud, feeling totally incongruent, to being able to sell financial products and services where people are trusting you, they want to buy from you, and so that they actually get the transformation and the result that they want? Well, the answer is, this is how I did it. It was actually using the sales process that I'm going to teach you today. And to give you an idea of exactly what I did, is that I started selling financial plans, and I started selling them for $250. And what I saw was that the financial plan itself didn't really get them the result that they wanted, right? People came to me because they didn't have enough money or their money wasn't working for them. And so I gave them this financial plan. And then they wouldn't implement it. So when I learned the sales process, I started to really, what you're going to learn today, is I started to dig into the pain. So I understood, what are they actually here for? As my husband said earlier, if you were here today, it's the why. Why are you here talking to me? And digging into the pain, I realized that, wow, it's so much more than just wanting your money to grow in the market, right? It's so much deeper than that. And by using this process, I got to really understand the pain. I really understood the problems they were having. And because of that, I started to develop a solution. And part of the process is understanding what they want. I'm going to go into the specific steps of this, but really understanding what they want and what's going to give them the ultimate pleasure, like what's really going to make their life awesome. And as I did that, I started to build a program. I started to give them what they wanted. And my income went up because I believe that the amount of money you make is in direct proportion with the amount of people that you help and the value that you provide. So I provided more value, I got paid more. Or was it, I got paid more, so I provided more value? Chicken or the egg, right? I don't know which it was. But all I know is that I brought this program to $9,000, and that was within less than 18 months. I just kept raising my price, but every time I did that, I kept providing more value. And these ladies will attest to that because they're going to be on the panel later this afternoon. And they've also raised their prices. I was trying to figure it out. Is it raised or risen? It's raised, right? Check. Done. Got that. Nailed it! Totally. English. So they raise their prices, and they get so excited because they're like, wow, now people are more excited to work with us. They're getting even more value. So that's what that's all about. So this is me now. So I brought my business to a very nice level in the financial planning world, but then I started to really help people with their businesses because I realized if I can help them save money, that's cool. If I can help them grow the money they have, that's cool. But if they don't have any, and if they can only save so much, then I'm really not giving as big of a transformation as I'd like. So I started to actually teach people how to make money as well. And that's why I empower women, mostly women, some dudes too. They get very empowered after I talk to them. So empowered. But I empower women in money and business. And I also teach a sales event, an advanced sales mastery event that I'm doing this weekend, tomorrow and the next day as well. So that's for men and women alike. So you've seen this potentially. This is our favorite picture of our family. So I told you I've been a certified financial planner and in the financial planning industry for 10 years. Became a business consultant so I could help people make more money. That's been 5 years. #1 best-selling author. My TV show is called The Financial G-Spot. Nothing? Nothing? That's all I get? We'll work on all you guys later. And then I have a radio show called Let's Talk Money. My biggest thing, the thing I'm really the most proud of, is this group that I've developed, this community I've developed called the Female Empowered Moneymakers. Because I really, really feel like it's so important to feel empowered when it comes to money, to see it as a gift, to be able to make sales, feel good because you're helping more people. And this is a picture of the ladies in my program, my femmes. And not only do I love them, but they are so in love with each other, it's insane. They go on this app we use and talk to each other all the time. They're like, I love being a femme. I love the femmes. The femmes are great. Oh, femmes. So it's amazing to be able to build a community where they're actually making more money. making a bigger impact, and helping support each other. So that's what I'm most proud of. Who likes free stuff? Like free stuff? All right, we like to give away free stuff. So this is the FCC sales system. You're going to learn it, but you'll have the template so that you can actually use this in your sales conversation. So you'll get that. And then the other thing I want to give you is the 3 benchmark questions so that you get people from a maybe, or I'll think about it, or I'm not sure, or how many of you heard, let me ask my spouse? Anyone got that before? That one sucks, right? Well, there's a benchmark question that you can use to make sure that people don't use that excuse on you. In fact, it's so good that when people try to sell me something, if they don't ask me that benchmark question, I use it as my excuse every time. I don't want to make a decision yet. I'm like, oh, let me go talk to my husband. I got him. I can get a maybe. So you take them to the other side, right? You want to get them to a yes. So you'll get those benchmark questions as well. So go to robyncrane.com/free gift. The T is there on the end, free gift, and you will get that. Awesome. Okay, so here we are. So I'm going to give you some sales secrets. I realize it's cut off for some reason, and we have to guess. Here are some sales secrets, and I'm going to say it's going to help you. All right, so 2 sales secrets. Number 1, this is how to shorten and optimize your sales cycle. And 2, to be able to close more sales. How many of you have had a sales process where you feel like you're chasing people? Chasing? Some of you guys? No one? Have you ever done a sales process? Kind of? So like you're like, do you want to buy from me? And they're like, yes, every time. I'm not really in sales. Oh, you're in sales, baby. I don't know what guys are chasing you then. They're in sales. Okay, so if you are in any sales process, most people are chasing sales. They're chasing people, trying to get an answer, right? Basically get a decision. I'm going to show you how to shorten that cycle and optimize it so you get more yeses. And also how to close the sale, especially high ticket. Do any of you sell high ticket? Some of you? Okay, cool, thanks. Oh, you ladies do. Awesome. So secret number 1, there are stages of every sale. Every sale has stages. And having clarity on each step and optimizing the process will save you time and increase your closing ratio. Okay? So what are the stages of your sale? So now you have to figure out what are your stages. Now I'm going to give you some examples. If you can, you can start taking some notes here. You don't have to write down what I have up here, but write down what you can start to think about, like what are the first stages of my sale. Okay? If you don't optimize the sales process within each step, your sales cycle will be very, very, very long. That's what I was saying about chasing. Okay, so here it is, and I'll use an example. I have a bunch of examples here so you guys can easily understand it and apply it. So this is me from 10 years ago when I first started. Okay, I got to get some clients, right? So what am I going to do? I was a singer-songwriter before, right? Now I'm in the financial planning industry. I don't have rich friends. I don't own a home. My relatives that, I don't know why I'm quoting relatives. I mean, they were relatives. My relatives who were wealthy had just bought a Cynical Love Song CD for me about 6 weeks prior. So here I am trying to sell them something. It didn't work. So I had to go do the old school thing of networking. Now, I didn't know at the time what was the next step that I was driving them to. I just go network, right? We go out there, put yourself out there, sell yourself. And so because of that, I would just go networking, and then I'd get some, what are these guys? Business cards. I got a bunch of business cards. And if I was good, if I did what I was supposed to do, I would do some follow-up calls, right? So I'd go networking, follow-up phone calls, and then I would drive them to a cup of coffee. Now, what I mean by cup of coffee is that it's really just an opportunity to sit with someone or meet with someone, and you don't necessarily bring up business yet because they're just trying to, get to know you kind of meeting. Now, sometimes I messed up, and I would actually go from the follow-up phone call to a meeting, a free meeting, and then I'd try to sell them, and it was really awkward. Has anyone experienced that? You're like talking about it, they're like, okay, we're so not ready for this conversation. So I actually like to add the cup of coffee sometimes when it's appropriate, So you don't always want to shorten it, but you must know what you're driving them to. Next step. What's the next step? What's the next step? Okay? So, but I'd often do this long, arduous process of just chasing people around. From the free meeting, because I didn't have total clarity about my offer, I didn't really know what they wanted, I didn't have a good sales process, it was oftentimes another follow-up call to a free meeting, and then, if I closed them, right, then I'd get a client, okay? Long cycle, took a ton of time, and oftentimes I didn't sell them, a very high-ticket thing because I didn't have a lot of credibility. Okay, then 8 years ago, this is after I decided to invest in myself, and I took a big leap of faith, and I hired a coach. So then I learned from my coach that you have to have an ideal client. Now, how many of you know this? You know you have to have an ideal client, right? You need to target your ideal client. But how many of you actually are very, very targeted? Not exactly, kind of, right? So it's always a hard thing to do, but it always works very, very well. So I ended up doing some presentations to my ideal client. Now, what was cool is that I kind of accidentally fell upon this really great niche, where because I was young and because I didn't have any rich friends, one of my friends asked me to speak at her preschool, well, the preschool for her children, and about college funds. Okay, and that's what they said they wanted. So I go there to speak about college funds. I had a pretty decent-sized audience, maybe 40 or so, maybe 50 people there. And from that, I at least knew, I had a coach at the time, I knew to drive them to meet with me, just go, come on, meet with me, right? So from a presentation, I went to a strategy session. Now at first, the first time I did this, I didn't know they were my ideal client, I wasn't very clear on it, and I didn't get paid for those sessions. But from that experience, I got so good at understanding the problems and concerns my ideal client had, which now was parents with young kids, kind of defaulted to that. I really understood their real problems, not paying for college. That wasn't the real problem. Their real problems were that they were maybe fighting with their spouse. Their real problems were that they felt incongruent or felt embarrassed because they were in debt, even though they were making well over 6 figures in the Silicon Valley. I was living in California at the time. They were, there were so many issues, they didn't have clarity of their money. So the sales process I'm going to give you helps you understand these problems so that you can solve them. So as I did that, because I understood their problems, I developed a nice program, and I got some really good money for it. That's where I got to the $9,000 mark. And then because I provided so much value, I really became a trusted advisor for them. Then I would get repeat business. Okay? So the actual process that happens, going from one stage to the next, each of these steps need to be optimized. So what do you say in your presentation? How do you create the gap so that people want to work with you? They see that there's a problem. They see that you have the solution. So all those little steps need to be optimized. Does that make sense? Cool? Okay, great. So the last thing, this is more recent, I just wanted to share, is really optimizing it further. And so knowing the target market, and then actually, now that I can actually invest using marketing dollars, then I went and started to spend money on ads, like Facebook ads. Okay? From there, I would drive them to a webinar. So this is what I do now. I drive people to a webinar. And this is really important. The reason I wanted to give you guys this is that today, the most important thing that people want is to see some results or value in advance. It's no longer just meet with me and then I'll buy from you. I mean, you can get really good at the sales process and people will buy, but if they can get a little bit of you and a little bit of results in advance, then they're much more likely to buy. And we're so used to seeing so many things so much first that if they haven't seen you before, it's like you have no credibility. So there's got to be some drop of credibility somewhere. So the webinar helps to do that. And then from there, now I get appointments on my calendar. How many of you would love just to wake up and have appointments on your calendar? Say, yeah! There we are. There we are. We're back. Cool. And then from there, I get clients, and I make more money because I actually have built communities, and I get paid more, but I'm giving even more value because now they have each other. Okay? Okay. The famous ladies right here, Faith and Hope. Here they were a year ago. This is going to look very familiar because most people do this before they get a coach or before they start getting help. So they would start at a networking event. They would go to do follow-up calls. They'd go to a cup of coffee, right? Then more follow-up calls. Then a meeting. Then design consult. Okay, so this was really good. They actually, one thing they did very well, even before we started working together, was they actually knew that they had value. And even though their industry wasn't doing this, they're architects, even though the industry wasn't doing this, they would actually charge $250 for a design consultation, which was pretty awesome. And they were like, wow, this is pretty great. People are paying for us to have the conversation, to have the opportunity to work with us. Pretty amazing. So from there, they had just started doing this a few months before we had met. They did something called a feasibility study to show people, is it feasible to even do these renovations so that you even need an architect, right? So which was, again, another way to add so much value. So they charged $1,000 for that. And then from there, they would get a client. And that was usually around, we're averaging here about $20,000. So it was working, but their biggest problem, one of the biggest reasons they came to me, was that they had a very, very long lead generation cycle. So there's a lot of we get the peaks, but there were a lot of valleys where they just didn't have clients coming in because it was such a long lag time, such a long cycle for them that finally when they got to the sale, it was just like, okay, we get a few of those here and there, okay? So then, this is what's so cool. This is very, very recent, okay? This was like a few months ago. These ladies are like, okay, this is a great story. So they're twins. I know you can't see them, but you see them here. Twins, they usually wear purple. You can find them, they're in purple. And they had their 25-year work anniversary on April Fool's Day, and it was also their birthday. Isn't that cool? So they were really smart. They said, a few years ago, one of the ways that we got clients was we were actually featured in an article, and we want to do that again, and we think this story will be great. So they came to, within our mentorship program, we have these calls, and they're like, okay, we're going to write this letter to the editor. I helped edit it, and then they got a ton of help from all the other ladies in the group, and then they just kept going after it, right? It wasn't like, okay, let me send one letter. They were really, really consistent about it, and they sent this letter, and they did it to a few different places. Like, it wasn't just one. And then, boom, like April Fool's Day came out. I wish I had a picture. I didn't put the picture in this one. But they were on the front page of their regional newspaper, the actual one that's in print, and the one on the website, on the publication, the online publication, and they were featured in a bunch of different articles. So that was awesome. So what happens when you become the authority, when you become the most credible architects in your area? Well, guess what? Ring, ring, ring. Phone starts to ring. So they started getting, instead of having to chase people and chase people and chase people to talk to them, people are calling them and want to meet with them. So they'd have a free meeting in their office from an incoming call. Now, this happened, the actual increase of their prices happened the day we met over a year ago, but they increased their prices to double for the design consult, which was now $500. And then the feasibility study, they increased from $1,000 to $1,500. So why am I mentioning that they increased their prices? Because how do you just increase your prices? Price is just arbitrary, right? How do you guys think? Adding more value. So what they did is they added more value. The other thing they did is they got very, very good at the sales process called the FCC sales system. Okay. What's one other little fact about this is that instead of making 2,000 and before making 1,500, $1,250, they actually made even more. They actually used to apply the design consult to the feasibility study, so they stopped doing that. So point here is that they get paid each step of the way once someone becomes a client. Now, they'll tell you this, if you start talking to them, and they'll be on the panel, they'll be like, oh my goodness, the difference between people now who pay more for our services and they go through the process of having to do the design consult and then doing a feasibility study. It's crazy. The quality of lead is like so much higher. People are so much more likely to say yes. So they're getting way more yeses. And they increase their prices by, only 46%. Amazing. Isn't that amazing? So pretty cool. So here's just the details on it. They increased their introductory services from $1,000 to $2,000. Their revenue went from an average of 12,000 to 21,000. This is even a little outdated, probably higher. And then they quadrupled their outstanding contracts from 46,000 a year prior to 211,000. Now, the only reason we got to that number was because the ladies kept saying, like, actually Faith kept saying, but there's so much lag time. We can't really tell how well this is working because there's all this lag time. Because people, if they're ready to, renovate their home, it's not like, okay, next week. There's a lot that has to happen before they actually get it done. So now they've gotten paid, and now they wait a little bit of time to get actually paid the final amount. And they had all this money, ready to be closed. So pretty awesome. Okay, second part. Secret number 2, there is a step-by-step sales formula. Sometimes I call it the sales process. The actual term is the FCC sales system that I use, that will lead people to buy more from you faster and filter out people who waste your time. So sometimes what's even more important than getting paid more is that you stop spending time on the people that don't want to pay you. And so this will filter those guys out too. Okay, here's the process. They brought me to, charging really high prices, giving way more value, and the same with these ladies and all the ladies that I tend to work with. So use a proven sales system because it's going to uncover what motivates your prospects to take action, and ultimately all you care about doing here is really helping them get what they want. Okay? Okay, here it is. There are 4 steps. Now you're going to repeat them, okay? Step 1 is FCC. Step 1 is what? I can't hear you. Step 1 is? Oh, very, very lovely voice. Okay, let's do it a little bit stronger so we feel like, we're awake. You're about to get lunch. You're going to feed, get your fuel. But let's just get this in your body so you remember it. It's 4 steps. You can remember this. The second step is MW. What's the second step? MW. Thank you. All right, the third step is the yes ladder. What's the third step? The yes ladder. All right, and lastly, the 4th step is the offer. The 4th step is? Thank you. Okay, great. All right, perfect. So I simplified this. I teach this in 2 days, and we're doing the workbook for this 2-day advanced sales mastery course, going like, why didn't we make this a 4-day course? There's not enough time. So I'm going to give you as much as I can, but this is why you want to get the free gift, so you can get the actual template and you can get the benchmark questions so you can move forward. So the first question you're really going to ask your prospects after you've built some rapport is, what are your frustrations, concerns, and challenges? Okay? Now what this does is it really allows them to open up and talk about what's not working, and talk about the pain that they're going through. That's about to beep. I guess I don't have more than 1 second. All right, let me just finish this up here. So, what are your frustrations, concerns, and challenges? And you can add when it comes to blank, whatever your area is. Okay, the second step, it goes, MW stands for magic wand. So once you've dug into the pain and they're feeling like crap and they're looking at you feeling like crap, looking at you feeling like crap, you want to get them out of that because you do not want them sitting there and thinking, every time I hang out with you, I feel like crap. So you want to get them to the magic wand, and you say, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you like? This gets them to actually start thinking that anything is possible. It allows them to really dream and start to believe that they can have those things. It's really amazing. Okay, next we go to the yes ladder. So there's actually a part of your brain back here, okay, that's actually, its job is to keep you safe. They call it the critter brain or the lizard brain. Its job is to keep you safe. If you're in debt, that means you will stay in debt because it's safer than being wealthy. Okay, so it's not there to make you happy. It's not there to actually help you be successful. It's there to protect you. It's so you don't get eaten by a lion, all right? So in order to trick that part of your brain and tell your brain, no, I actually want to have success, you need to start saying yes and start thinking of what's possible. So the magic wand does that, and so does the yes ladder. And so you want to do the same for your prospects, because the only reason they're saying no to you, assuming it's a match, it's a fit, is because they're scared. It's a fear, right? So, did I get that right is a good one. Yes. You're going to get a yes. Does this make sense? Yes. Has this been valuable so far? Why don't you guys answer yes to that? That'll make me feel good. Has this been valuable so far? Do you see how this could help you? A little louder. And does this feel like something you'd want, everybody? Yes. All right, thanks. I don't know what you're even wanting, but it sounds great, right? It's hard not to say yes to that. Okay, and then the last part is the offer. Now, when you make your offer, as my husband talked about, you want to make it irresistible. One of the ways to make it irresistible is to anchor the value, which means you have a higher price. Everywhere you see this, we all love discounts. We all like to buy on sale. So you have to do the same thing for your client. Not to BS them, but so that they really, they see the value. And so whatever it is, you might charge $10,000, or you might have a value of $10,000, and if you give it to them for $6,000, they're thinking they scored. Okay? So you've got to have an anchor, and you've got to give a discount. Otherwise, people are just feeling like they want to negotiate with you. And if you're getting people to negotiate with you, it's because you don't have the anchor, and you don't have an irresistible offer. Okay, so last couple things, just to give some examples of people that applied this right away. This is Jen. She's a financial advisor. Been in the business for a year, was making like $1,000 a month, barely getting by. Sounds familiar. And she was charging $100 a month for a financial plan. She literally took this FCC sales system. I think we did 1 or 2 calls. She's in my next Fem mentorship program. And then she closed 4 out of 5 new strategy sessions. These are services that she didn't even have before, that she just created like that, and then got about $1,350 of revenue. It was amazing. She just applied it so fast. And then Allison, who I've been working with one-on-one, she's a Fem++, I call her, because she's a one-on-one client. She had a talk. She had given tons of talks before where she had never left with a lead. Crazy, like hour-and-a-half talks, all this stuff, never left with the lead. She did a 15-minute talk using the FCC sales system within the talk. And she got 13 new hot leads. And then she closed 3 out of 3 of the first sales. Only 3 out of 3, I know, it's pathetic. But on the 3rd sale was actually, she had already doubled her price. So it's that good because when you start to see how much value you're giving people, and you're running through the system, people want to buy, and you're like, why am I only charging that? That's costing me a lot of time. And then the coolest thing was she actually created these packages. I helped her create these packages, and she was charging about $200 an hour previously, and we created packages so that her rate was at $1,000 an hour. And so she walked away with her first package out of the gate was $15,000. So this is very, very powerful. Yes, it will make you more money, but more importantly, she was so excited. She actually called me after. She's like, I couldn't call you because I was crying because I was so excited. And like this package is so much better because it's a program, not just a package. And these people are going to get so much more value. So that's what's really important. So that's all I got. I know I went a little bit over. Thanks for being patient with me.